Since the murder of George Floyd and the global racial uprisings, American state corporations as well as schools have all undertaken efforts around racial equity and inclusion, and the military is no exception. Now, only time will tell whether these efforts are performative or truly substantial. But so far, what we know is that racial discrimination and sexual harassment is rampant in the American military and the military academies. In the last 2 years, military academy students and graduates have taken their experiences of bias, discrimination, and harassment to Instagram accounts, specially designed, to give voice to these very complaints. Among the 70 complaints shared on the Instagram page, Black at West Point, here is one example from a cadet 2024. Cadet 2024 says, "I was corrected for not shaving enough. My RTO took me out of formation and began to rant on how I'm not representing the academy well, and specifically stated, 'You're not on the block anymore.' I responded, 'I was never on the block.' And subsequently he stated, 'Wherever you came from.'" Here is another one from the Instagram page, Black at U.S. Air Force Academy. Quote, "I was told that I had an easier time getting accepted because being a woman of color, and the opportunities I received were not because of my work either, but rather my ethnicity. I've also been told I look like a terrorist, right to my face." Joining me now is former Special Operations Black Hawk helicopter mechanic, Crystal Ellington. She's the Director of Communications for the Minority Veterans of America. Crystal, thank you so much for joining me on the show. How did you get into the Army, and why'd you leave?
So I initially enlisted in the Army partly because I've had a rich family history that went far back all the way to the Gulf War with my grandfather. And I wanted to make sure that I could represent for my country, and I wanted to give back and be a woman of service. And I also wanted to make sure I could provide a steady income and also have benefits for my 5-year-old son.
And you experienced problems while you were there. Talk a little bit about some of the challenges you experienced.
So, I mean, first of all, the segments that you brought up before with a lot of the discrimination in the military is rampant, and it's happening everywhere. My particular unit was just a small microcosm of the issues that are happening. I was asked how I felt about the Confederate flag, saying as how I was from the South. I had a supervisory officer tell me an N-word joke right to my face. And that's just a small example of some of the issues that I faced.
Wow. Do you think your situation was exceptional, or did you find that other peers were facing similar circumstances?
Oh, absolutely not. My situation was, I would definitely say, normal for African Americans within my unit and within the Army. I think that people aren't necessarily willing to step forward and tell their story because of the backlash that they may face and some of the retaliation that could happen.
What's an example of the kind of retaliation people experience when they did make the kind of pushback or response or file a complaint or just speak publicly about it?
So actually, within the military, speaking up about these types of things while you're actually active duty, it could be a matter of life and death. So if you are someone that is known to quote unquote snitch and you're downrange deployed with your peers, that could mean someone that has your back or someone that doesn't. So it could definitely be a matter of someone not trusting you, and that could determine whether you live to fight another day.
How does it become life or death for those of us who haven't been in the military? We don't quite understand how high stakes this could be.
Yes, so I actually am a combat veteran as well. I have been deployed in Iraq back in 2019. And as I said, if someone doesn't trust you and there's an active engagement happening where there are live shots being fired, if someone doesn't necessarily trust you or they don't like you, they could choose not to have your six, and they could choose not to provide cover fire for you, and it could mean you getting seriously injured or killed.
Do black soldiers, in your experience, have those kinds of worries that their back won't be covered or that they'll be treated differently, not just in terms of the kind of microaggressions that happen every day, not just in terms of the occasional sort of improper comment, all of which is unacceptable and disturbing. But I guess I'm trying to understand, how deep is the worry of the black military person that their treatment will be different and maybe even rise to the level of danger?
I mean, as far as I've had the opportunity to speak with my peers, it is something that is commonly felt around my black counterparts. They totally understand that being quiet and keeping your mouth shut could be the only way that you live another day. And sometimes they never speak up and they never say anything. So it's completely up to those of us who have the voice and have the power to speak up and make sure that this doesn't continue to happen.
We've talked a lot about the racial piece of this, but sexual harassment is also a significant part of the experience of all women in the armed forces, and women of color are certainly no exception. Can you talk a little bit about that kind of experience and how prevalent that is?
Oh, absolutely. So that experience has been so prevalent that Senator Gillibrand has recently introduced the Military Justice Improvement and Increasing Prevention Act. So essentially that act would take the sexual harassment cases out of the hands of the chain of command that the soldier is currently a part of, and it gets sent over to a criminal justice attorney. So that would mean that the person that is investigating the case is not the person that the soldier and the person that has actually been sexually harassed. They're not the ones that their commander is taking care of the case. So it would be handled by essentially an objective party.
Which is an important step, I would imagine. What are some of the efforts of Minority Veterans of America towards shining a light on the rampant racism and sexism that we see in the military? And of course, I want to add the academies as well.
Yes. So we've actually been strong proponents of the act that Senator Gillibrand introduced. We were also there at the White House this past Tuesday passing Bill 1031, which requires a study on race and ethnicity disparities related to Veterans Affairs benefits. Because obviously this isn't just happening in the academies and in active duty stations, it's also happening to veterans as well.
There's a long history of black soldiers fighting abroad for the United States, and then they come home to an America that has treated them as second-class citizens. How would you say, at this stage, in 2022, black soldiers feel serving in the Army and perhaps other branches?
Just Googling racial, injustices in the Army, you just see page after page of all these articles recently of how these soldiers are feeling ostracized and they're feeling discriminated against. So I think some of the bills and policy procedures that are happening and getting enacted are a strong first step in the right direction. And hopefully that will impact how some of the future and present service members feel about the discrimination in the military, because it is a very real and very known problem.
Absolutely. Crystal, thank you so much for joining me on Black News tonight. We appreciate your insights and, quite frankly, your bravery for disclosing something that is so painful and so dangerous, not just for you, but for everyone serving in the U.S. military.